Now you get to see what it's supposed to look like, and you can see it's support. The other thing is, because it is support, some of you will bring it in and it's like, it's got an arc to it. You don't want that, because of course when you put muscles on top, it's going to get rounder and rounder and rounder. So make it a beeline. It also has to be underneath the rib cage, because the rib cage still has to show. So when you put muscles on there, it will go in the rib cage like it does on a real person. Okay, like this will. Like when you put muscles on top of this, you can see what I'm talking about. Isn't that neat? So you need to remember that. I'm going to just put that little patch there, and Joy can take that back, but this will remind you that later on when you put muscles, yes, Dan?
Oh, I was just curious, like, do people actually have like a support like layer on top?
No, you have your your intestines and your vital organs up here. You have this thing called an omentum, which is a fatty area around the organs, and they push up. That's why, as a matter of fact, it brings up an interesting point. What do we have there? We have a sheet of muscle, of course, the six-pack, and you have other muscles that basically kind of go like this. But basically what you have is when people get really heavy, men and women get heavy in different ways. Let me explain that, because it's actually kind of interesting. Every once in a while you'll see, I don't know, Uncle Bob, somebody in your family, he's got the big belly. And if you're close enough to him and he likes you, you can actually touch it, and it's hard like a basketball. Okay, you've seen like the weightlifter Russian guys, and they're big. I mean, they definitely don't have the six-pack. They don't look like Michael Phelps. Different body type. Okay, they're more like the guys that do cannonballs rather than diving and swimming. Okay, so they're round like this, but they're firm. You know why? Because the fat on men is a lot of times around the organs, pushing out. Whereas on women, a lot of times the fat is called subcutaneous, which is on the skin, underneath the skin, so they're more soft and squishy. And then the muscles. See, muscles, then the fat. A lot of times on some men, it's the fat, then the muscles, and it pushes out, so they're firmer. Is that interesting? But women can be healthy and big. Men, when they have that, not healthy at all. That's why they'll kick the bucket much more easily. So fat doesn't necessarily mean unhealthy. You can be toned, you can be all that stuff, but it is different, men and women, very different. Is that interesting? So you do have that kind of, but I don't know if anybody's ever had a hernia or any kind of herniation. Usually the herniation happens with men, and it's over here. The reason is that you have this thing, gosh, I know I'm digressing, but since I work with cadavers and stuff, a lot of times you can't tell if the cadaver is male or female, because without the genitals or anything like that, and sometimes the bodies are quartered. So it's almost like getting a chicken plate, it's cut up. It's not like the whole thing, with it.
I'm sorry, I just
With the
imagined
head,
it
the feet. Yeah, I mean, it really is. I mean, a body is quartered. It's not a whole body. So a lot of times with my students, is we're working on quartered bodies. So there's the leg and part of the pelvis, et cetera, et cetera. So it's hard to tell if it's male or female, except that on a man, there is an opening here because there's a sperm cord. It comes out like that and into the testes. You see that little hole I put there? And on a cadaver, you could still see that, almost like a straw, like a wiggly straw coming out of it. And it's like, okay, that's male. Simple as that. It's interesting. So why am I bringing that up? Because you could actually have your intestines pushed through there, and that's a hernia. But it can also happen with your six-pack muscles. They'll split open like blinds, and a bubble will come out, and that's your intestine. That's a hernia. That's an abdominal hernia. You could get herniations pretty much anywhere. If you have like really weak stomach muscles, have like little, all of a sudden you're like popping out, like little balloons.
Someone who has one of those.
Yeah.
I don't think he realizes he has it.
Is this like you and you just were talking about like, I have this friend, right?
I have a friend who literally from behind he looks like you, but then he turns and his stomach is like this. So he just from behind he looks skinny, and then you turn, he's a giant stomach. And then there's like a solid patch on the end of his stomach, so if you brush by him, there's like this weird thing. You're like, ugh.
That's so interesting.
I know strange people.
Okay, so that's abdominal support, okay? So, okay, come back to me, you guys. Come back to me. Come back to me. Come back to me.
We're back.
Come back. Dan, you're still not back. Okay, now, we did the ear, we did the ping pong ball. Now we're going to do an index finger, okay? So, I don't know what size that was. I think that was, some of my other students were kind of trying to create new, grape. Somebody said a grape. Okay, so grape. So I'm going to take that grape and, does that work? I don't think that worked. Okay, it's going to work. We're going to make an index finger out of this. It's a little index finger.
Pinky.
Yeah, okay, that's a pinky finger. Okay, so let's start with this. Did you see that? I start with like a little ball that looked like a little grape. Okay, so believe it or not, I actually got this idea because I'm always thinking, the sad thing is like when I dream, a lot of times it's in the classroom, and I come up with really neat, I know, I want to have like really more interesting dreams on some kind of like islands or something, but no, I'm in the classroom and I'm teaching. But sometimes I'm watching TV and it's like, I bet I could do something with that. I was watching Martha Stewart and she was making some kind of cannoli or something like that. And I thought, you know what? That's it. That's how we're going to do the vertebra from now on. So this is the Martha Stewart way of doing the vertebra. See that little finger? I'm going to use a piece of paper though. I want it to be flat. This is where this comes in. See this piece? This is actual size. And going back to like page 1. See this? Okay, so watch this. You take that finger and you start spreading it so it gets longer and longer and longer. The thickness is going to be the same thickness. It's 1/8 of an inch, the same thickness as your wire. See this wire? It's like that. Right now it's way thick, right? But it's also not even close to being that long. So I'm looking at that, I'm trying to make it as long as that. And I'm also, if you don't have a little roller, which I'm sure you don't, people use markers, anything. I mean, I have this here if you guys need to use it, but a lot of you won't get that far today. So you just use anything at home, a rolling pin, anything that will roll that out. Huh?
Molasses jars.
Exactly. I was just going to say that next. If you have a molasses jar, that's another good example. It says that on there. If you have a molasses jar, use it. You don't have a fancy roller. Trying to make him happy, like he's contributing. Thank you, that's brilliant. Thank you very much. There's some more happening, and now he's getting mad. Okay, so now we have this. You see that? It's long, I think it's longer. Good, it's longer. You can see that's longer. Because then what we do is whatever you happen to find, anything. You know what actually helps if you don't have one of these? If you happen to have one of those edgers for painting, it looks like something like this when you're painting. Anything that will cut. I mean, you could even use, if you have a metal ruler, sometimes you could use it. Anything that will just trim this, okay? I just happen to have this cutter, this clay cutter.
Do you mean like a palette knife or?
Yeah, you know what, palette knife would be perfect. I think that would work really well. Anything that will just kind of give you that shape. And it's also just an approximation, you don't have to make this too noodly. Let me see if I got close. That's close enough. Do you see that?
That's perfect.
It's pretty good. Thanks, appreciate it. So few things are. Okay, so there's that. There's this. Now I have the wider part because you can see this is wider, that's tapered. This you're gonna like. This is gonna be worth the price of admission. If I can find my little, okay, so now I have a hairpin. You could use anything you want that you could make into like a V shape. You could have a store-bought tool. It doesn't matter as long as you have like a V kind of a shape, okay? Now, this is for the spinous processes. This is why I mentioned this stuff during the lectures is so you guys know the terminology. You have the pokey spines on the back because that's why they're called spinous processes. They're spiny. They come out the back. Watch what I'm going to do. This is the Martha Stewart part of my class. I'm just going to dig in, and I tried to draw that here. Do you see that? The little tool, and I have like a little, like almost you're making alligator teeth. I'm going to go all the way down till I hit the paper. Watch. No, it's all right. Watch. Like this and pull up. It's just as simple as that. It's almost like making some kind of pastry. Like this, and I'm touching each one in front of it like this. And I just pull these up because I am indicating. Do not ask me if I'm counting because like I said, I have to drop you as a friend like this. It doesn't match up with anything. In real life it does, of course. It's more complicated than what I'm doing. This is an oversimplification, but that's what I have here. These little tiny alligator teeth. But because of where they are, the viewer reads it as something more complicated than what it really is. And you go all the way up, but basically that's it. So then you take out any other kind of tool. Where's that other gouging tool that I just had here? Only on the left side, because the right side is not important. but only on the left side. Watch what I'm gonna do. I'm just gonna take anything that just takes bites out of this. Watch. Bite, bite, like little alligator bites, look, bites. They're not matching up with anything. I'm not counting, I'm not matching up, I'm just taking bites. As if I were just doing a pastry, like this, like that. And before you know it, you have spinous processes and transverse processes. When you put this finished piece back there, and I'll leave this for Joy to take off and for her to put back on, you could see that it actually looks pretty effective. Isn't that amazing? It's really easy. So this week's stuff, I think, is easy. You already did this, which was nice. Then I think the humerus, or the humeri, is pretty straightforward. I don't need to show you how to do bones because you've already been doing bones. You just look at the information I have given you thus far, like here, and you just copy it. Both sides, of course. I don't need to show you how to do that. You know how to do that. Try to make sure that the bones look, especially the left one, looks nice and delicate. Look at that bone compared to the other bones because it can't be as big as the leg bones. Makes sense. Everybody good with this? Yes.
The sternum, we're just putting a...
Oh, yeah. You know what that is? It's going to be like putting a necktie on him. And that's a good question because I didn't put that on there. But that one is pretty straightforward. It's going to look like not much more than that. I mean, obviously put more detail, but it's really simple. I think this week, it's almost like, compared to what you've been doing, it's almost like a break. Okay? Honestly, I think everybody's going to feel that. All right, good, everybody.